And the Oscar goes to...
And the Oscar goes to...
And the Oscar goes to...
The Oscar goes to...
Welcome to the 1 millionth Academy Award.
Only 97 more movies to watch until Oscar Day. Goo! First, I'd like to thank the Academy for giving me this tremendous honor. I couldn't have done it without the help of many, many people. I'd like to start by thanking every person who I've ever met, or spoken to, or thought about, or walked past, or tripped over, or glanced at.
Wrap it up!
Oh, they're telling me to wrap it up. Oh, okay, so I'll just go ahead and thank the people who work in the mall where I got my suit.
That is Mike!
Okay, but I still need to thank each of the people who were born at the same time as me. Thank you, Tom Flanagan. Thank you, Sarah Walker. Thank you, Buck Jones. Thank you, Rosie Rickle. Thank you, Harrison Donatello. And thank you, Stu Wanamaker. Thank you, Darlene O'Grady. Thank you, Bert Schwanzer. Hey!
In a world filled with intergalactic space battles, metahuman destruction on a global scale, and psychopathic serial hauntings, there's only one team who can make sense of it all. When your world is overrun with rampant pop culture, call Loop and Larry, Guardians of Geek.
Oprah? Uma?
From the fabulous Loop and Larry Studios in beautiful downtown London, Ontario,
Uma? Oprah?
it's the Oscar Recap Spectacular.
Uma? Oprah?
With your hosts, Academy Award-winning wannabes, Loop and Larry.
I'm Luke.
And I'm Larry!
And this is Guardians of Geek, our Oscar special.
This is going to be spectacular, this one. You can tell because the intro was pretty spectacular.
It
right?
was. The fact you could bring the Uma and Oprah out once again.
Who can't go more than like a couple of weeks without talking about Uma and Oprah?
That was always one of those hosting gigs that I felt like they're too harsh on it. I thought he was funny on that one.
You know what? I thought so too. But then when I went back to look at his whole presentation on YouTube, because that whole intro is on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
now,
yeah.
It is so awkward. You could tell that Letterman is like in his head going, this is not going to work. This is going to suck, and this is not going
like just the Uma Oprah part.
Yes,
or okay, yeah.
Because he walks across the stage. First, he has to find Oprah in the audience, and it takes him a minute to even find her. So he's kind of like aimlessly walking across the stage, and he finds her, and then he has to find Uma Thurman. So he walks back to the other side of the stage, like really, like where is she? Uma, and it's just really awkward.
Yeah. Well, I had heard that like he still thinks about this moment, and I'd heard that another comedy writer suggested it to him. But like at the time when you're in the heat of the moment, it was like this sounds like a great idea.
It totally does.
And so they just did it, and it just didn't work. But you know what? That's the problem with that. That's a hard gig, man.
It is. I mean, you've got like millions and millions of people watching you in your live, and I mean, you do the best you can.
Yeah. So Oscars were last night for us.
Yeah.
And you might be or listening to this at any point in time. Thanks for listening to the podcast, by the way.
100%.
And so we're just doing our Oscars recap of last night, because the Oscars are like the biggest night in movies.
It is.
In entertainment, really.
I still get all giddy about it. To me, this is the Super Bowl of TV.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Of the Super Bowl of geekdom.
And,
you know.
And to go back a little bit, that Larry and I we try to watch all the best pictures at the very least.
Yes.
And it's tricky.
Well, now that they've increased it to nine movies per. I mean, back in the day when it was 5, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, 9's tough because you got to. As soon as they announce them, you got to go. Okay, how many haven't I seen?
Yeah.
And this year I hadn't seen 7 of the 9.
It's a lot. To
and
pack
so
in.
then,
and then you only have like a month to do it.
Yeah, you have a month, which sounds like a long time, but really you got to look at. Okay, first I got to look at what's streaming.
Yep.
What can I watch at any time?
Yeah.
Then I got to eliminate those like movies. And I think there was only about 3 at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
Then I got to look. Okay, what's in theaters now? What's coming to theaters? How long are they going to be in theaters?
Yep.
So you got to really like pick and choose what you're going to see first, like because I wasn't sure how long like Little Women was going to stay in the theater, so I went and saw that right away.
Well, exactly. You never know, and that's the thing. Like a lot of these movies aren't the most popular movies out there, so they don't have like a long run normally. So to find them, you're just like, oh god, I got to jump on this. But there are only so many days in the week.
Yeah, I know, and it's like, and you start looking at like are any of these movies coming out on like Blu-ray or streaming before the Oscars happen? Because a lot of times they will, like a week before, suddenly something will show up. So I'm like, okay, I can eliminate those from the theaters.
Yeah.
And then you got to go to like, for us, it's like there's a theater called Highland, that shows sort of like a lot of foreign movies and things like that.
Yep.
There's a name for those type of theaters, but they
repertory.
Yeah. So I end up going to that a lot to see movies because they usually are showing most of the Oscar ones if they can. So and they do a great job at it. So just trying to see all this stuff is tough.
It was tough. And you know what gets me every year, and I don't quite understand why they do this. A bunch of the Oscar nominees, and this happens every year, get released to like Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, home video the week after, like the Tuesday after the Oscars. Yeah. So like this year, Ford versus Ferrari, I believe, is coming to home video like on the Tuesday, like 2 days after the Academy Awards. Why wouldn't they just push that date up a week? Think about how many more people.
I think there's a reason for it, and I'll get to you in a second. But I can't believe you said the phrase "home video."
I did.
Coming to home video. Vestron presents.
Vestron, well done. You pulled that out of nowhere. Good one.
I think sometimes they hold it because they feel like they can add on to like the packaging, Oscar winner or whatever. Like, I think Ford versus Ferrari was pretty safe.
I think so.
Just with the nomination alone. Yeah. But
I just feel like so many more people would purchase it or rent it or whatever if it was available even the week before. Yeah. I mean, the packaging might not have, Oscar nominated whatever, but the sales will go through the roof.
They would. They would. So Oscars last night. So you got some Oscar trivia off the top.
I thought we'd start
some
this.
Trivia.
And I've got pages and pages of it.
We've got 3 hours of trivia. Then we'll talk about the Oscars.
Exactly.
Okay,
this is going to be great. All right. So I thought I'd start right off the top with where the Oscars came from. Okay. Like where the name came from. So the Oscar statuette, the official name is the Academy Award of Merit. That's what the statue is actually called, the Academy Award of Merit. The name Oscar actually is a nickname that has been around for decades, but it's unclear exactly where it came from. Although there's several different stories that claim to be the origin of the name, but the most common one came from a comment made by Margaret Henrik, who was a librarian at the Academy. Apparently, as the story goes, she worked as the librarian, and upon seeing the statuette, she commented that the statuette looked a lot like her uncle Oscar. This is what they say.
That's why they
it's as simple as that. The librarian thought it looked like her uncle. I'm not sure how it looked like her uncle in that
he's pretty jacked. Actually,
no facial features.
Apparently, he doesn't wear clothes on a regular basis either.
So we don't really need to know much more about this Uncle Oscar. But anyway, apparently that's where it came from, and so it was officially. They officially started using the term Oscar in 1939, which was 10 years after the Oscars actually began.
Excellent.
So there's a little bit about that. About the statue itself, the Oscar statuette, it stands at 13.5 inches tall, so it's pretty big, and it weighs 8.5 pounds. You know how they're always going up on stage and being like, "Ooh, this thing's so heavy."
Yeah.
8.5 pounds. That's a solid piece of metal right there. And it depicts a knight holding a sword standing on a reel of film, and the reel of film has 5 spokes that represent the 5 original branches of the Academy. So that's actors, directors, producers, technicians, and writers. And it takes 3 months for, I think it's Pollock Talix Fine Art Foundry in New York to manufacture the 50 statuettes. It takes 3 months to make them. Wow. And more than 3,140 statuettes have been handed out since the beginning. So there's a lot of them out there. Wow. 3,000. Okay. Yeah. The very first Oscar winner received to receive an Academy Award didn't even attend the first Academy Award ceremony. His name was Emil Jannings.
Yeah.
And he was the winner for Best Actor in the 1927-28 Academy Awards. But he decided to go back home to Germany before the ceremony. He was just like, nah, not a big deal. But they handed off the statue to him before he got on the plane. So he got it. He just didn't.
Hold on!
Yeah, you forgot this. So that happened. So the very first time the Academy Awards were televised was on March 19th, 1953. That's when it actually was aired. So it ran from 1929 to 1953 with nobody actually seeing it.
Oh, yeah?
So it was, I guess they reported on it in the radio.
Yeah,
I suppose.
on the old radio.
Yeah, on the radio. That's when it was first telecast for the first time in the United States and Canada. Then 13 years later, on October 18th, 1966, the Academy Awards were broadcast in color for the first time.
Okay.
And both ceremonies were hosted by Bob Hope. So that's interesting. And this is a question I'm sure you've asked yourself.
Yes.
How many guys named Oscar have actually won the Oscar?
I'm going to say 0.
You'd be wrong.
Really?
One
Okay.
guy.
Okay, really?
Yep. Oscar Hammerstein II won the Oscar for his song "The Last Time I Saw Paris" in the movie Lady Be Good in 1941. So
Okay, wow.
he's the only Oscar to ever have
win
won
to
an
ever
Oscar.
win an Oscar.
Yes, which is pretty exciting for Oscar. There has actually been one movie that was X-rated
Okay.
that won an Oscar. Any idea what that was? I'll give you a date, 1969.
Go ahead.
Stop it. Stop it, you.
I don't know.
It's a little movie called Midnight Cowboy.
Okay, I do.
Dustin
Now that you
Hoffman
say
movie.
that, I remember.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. It was rated X for language and some sexual stuff that went on. And
Some stuff.
But it was given the Academy Award, and it was the first and I believe only X-rated movie that was.
Oh, wow.
ever. Yep. There have been some posthumous nominations for people who after they died.
Yeah.
The most notable was James Dean.
okay.
Who he's the only actor nominated twice after he died for 2 different movies. So he was nominated once for Best Actor for East of Eden in 1955, and again the following year for the Best Actor for Giant in 1956.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, and he only made 3 movies. So he was
Yeah, I
nominated
don't
for
know.
Best Actor.
It's so weird how like big a celebrity and how iconic he is. Considering he
Yeah.
didn't really make that many
He
movies.
made
like,
3, and he died before
Yeah.
either of any of them really.
He was just so
yeah.
cool.
He was super cool, and he died in a cool way. So that makes him even cooler. There have also been a few actors who won Best Acting Oscars without ever having spoken a single word on camera. And these are not silent films. These are just actors who portrayed people who couldn't speak. So
Okay.
their entire performance was based on their like motions and
Yeah.
facial expressions and things like that. There were 3 of them.
Marley Matlin. One?
No.
Oh,
Bel-
really?
I believe not. No. It was what was her name? Best actress Jane Wyman won the Best Actress for her portrayal of Belinda, a deaf mute in Johnny Belinda in 1948. Sir John Mills played the mute village idiot. You don't get that title
Yeah,
very much
no,
anymore.
it's a-
Village Idiot in Ryan's Daughter in 1970. And most recently, Holly Hunter. Remember this Holly Hunter? Won Best Actress for her portrayal as the mute in The Piano in 1993.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
So
they-
Anna Paquin win an Oscar?
I think she won for that as well.
Yeah, she was really young at that
Yeah,
time.
like supporting actress or something. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Didn't speak a word, still won an award. Most frequent hosts of the awards, Bob Hope, still the reigning king with 18 Academy Award ceremonies.
Yep.
Followed by Billy Crystal, who is
Yep.
my all-time favorite.
Yeah.
Who hosted 8.
Yeah.
And Johnny Carson hosted 5.
No, yeah. It'd be weird to see Carson host it.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever actually seen footage of Carson hosting an
No.
Oscars.
To
But-
YouTube.
I know. I'm sure it's there, but Billy Crystal was great. I just think he should have had like a lifelong contract for that.
Yeah.
The phrase "and the winner is"
Yeah.
was discontinued at the 1961 Academy Awards held in 1989. Or the 61st Academy Awards held in 1989. The Academy decided to replace the trademark phrase "and the winner is" with the phrase "and the Oscar goes to."
Oh.
Yeah, so you will not hear.
They did it the other way. And the losers are,
Yeah, exactly.
and whoever was left over is the winner.
It was the winner. It was smart that way.
It's a little weird. But...
Yeah. And just a quick Oscar moment that you may be familiar with, or maybe not. During the Academy Awards ceremony held on April 2nd, 1974, a man named Robert Opel ran across the stage
He
naked.
streaked. I remember that,
Remember
yeah.
that? Yeah, he was flashing a peace sign. So David Niven, actor David Niven, who had been on stage to introduce the Best Picture category when he ran by, he thought quickly on his feet, and his quote was, "The only laugh that man will ever get in his life is by stripping and showing his shortcomings."
That was the very first burn of all time.
It was, that was a big one. And then he went like this. Yeah, it was great. All right. So here's an interesting one. There was at one point a 20-year delay in an award being given to a movie. So, in a strange turn of events, Charlie Chaplin's movie Limelight, which was produced in 1952, won the Academy Award in 1972.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, how did that happen, you might ask?
I would like to know.
Yeah, okay. So it was 20 years after its release. According to the Academy's rules at the time, a movie could not be considered for an Academy Award until it had played in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yep, that's the truth. When Limelight finally played at a theater in Los Angeles in 1972, it became eligible for an award.
That is bizarre.
That's really, really weird. Isn't that strange?
That is weird.
I'm pretty sure they've stopped that.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Yeah, like that. So, I mean, because really, you could re-release any movie now in Los Angeles and put it up for an award.
Yeah, if you haven't, if it never was.
I think they probably realized after that, they were like, we should maybe change that.
So, yeah.
Yeah. There have been 3 people who have actually refused to accept their awards.
Okay.
One of them you'll probably be aware of. The first person to refuse the Oscar was Dudley Nichols. Remember him? No.
Oh, yeah.
He won the Best Screenplay for The Informer, but boycotted the Academy Awards because of ongoing conflicts between the Academy and the Writers Guild. That was one. And then for his dramatic portrayal in World War II, as the World War II general in Patton, George C. Scott, who was a great actor, won the Academy Award for Best Actor, but he refused the honor, stating that the award ceremony was, quote, a 2-hour meat parade. Meat parade. I'd like to see a 2-hour meat parade. I don't know exactly what that is, but
call it a buffet.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to call it. But he wouldn't go. He wouldn't take it. And finally, Marlon Brando. Do you remember this one?
Yes.
This one refused his Best Actor award for The Godfather because Brando, who said he refused the award because of the discrimination towards Native Americans in the U.S. and Hollywood. And then he sent a woman supposedly named Sasheen Littlefeather.
I totally remember this.
Remember this?
Yeah.
To collect the award. And so she got up on stage and made the announcement and refused the award, wouldn't take it, and walked off and kind of explained why she was doing this. Turns out later that she was really an actress named Maria Cruz. That does not sound very Native American to me.
No.
So, scam. But anyway, the Academy Award has been held every year, not nonstop, but it has been postponed 3 times.
Yeah.
So, it's been postponed. In 1938, the ceremony was delayed for a week because of flooding in Los Angeles. That makes sense. They didn't want people swimming to it. In 1968, the Academy Awards was pushed back 2 days because of Martin Luther King Jr.'s funeral.
Yep.
They didn't want to impede on that. And the Academy Awards was pushed back 1 day in 1981 because of the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan.
Oh, wow.
So it takes some pretty big things to move the Academy Awards. And even those things, just maybe a day. We'll just move them a day. That's all you get. So the Oscars are made of metal. They're 8.5 pounds. But at one point, the Academy handed out a plaster Oscar during World War II in support of the war efforts because they were conserving metal. So the people got Oscars made of plaster. But after the war, the plaster Oscars could be traded in for traditional metal ones.
I'd like to trade my Oscar please.
So it's just like a placeholder Oscar.
That's funny, actually.
Yeah. So we're getting down to it here. So in Oscar history, 2 films have tied for the record of the most nominations without a single win. Both The Turning Point in 1977 and The Color Purple in 1985 received 11 Oscar nominations and won nothing.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts. Isn't that? I mean, how could you be so highly regarded and not win anything? Like, that would be the disappointment of this century, to go in thinking we've got 11 nominations, we're going to get at least a couple of Oscars
at least
out of this.
a couple out of this one.
None, zero.
Wow.
Yep. Now, on the flip side of that, there have been only 3 films in the 92 years of the Oscars to ever win the Big Five. So the Big Five are Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
And those 3 are It Happened One Night, 1943, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, and Silence of the Lambs in 1991.
That's right, it did.
Yeah, and that, I believe, was the first and maybe only horror movie ever to win Best Picture, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think there's been one since or before.
Not
so
that I can think
that
of.
one really cleaned up.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And finally, to bring it back to the current Oscar ceremony, the 92nd Oscar Academy Awards in 2020 marked the very first time in Oscar history that an international film won Best Picture.
Yeah, that's crazy, eh?
Yes.
All right,
So there you go. A little bit of trivia about the old Oscars.
We know everything we need to know about the Oscars.
Oh, yeah. And I'll be back next week with more.
This has become just an Oscar podcast.
That's
now.
all we're going to do now on.
All right, well, let's go into them. Let's we'll go through each category just quickly. Like, some will have more to say than others, obviously.
Yep.
And then we'll say who won it, and then we can just talk a bit about that category. We may have nothing
Sure.
to say. We may have lots to say. We don't know. Depending on the category.
And it'll get more and more discussion as we get closer to the top.
Yeah, and then as we go through, we'll talk about just different parts of it and things that worked and didn't work and whatever. So
And how I would change things.
yes, and how you would change things. All right, so
Okay.
let's start with you give us a category. Maybe,
All right.
maybe in the order they're given out. I'm not sure what.
Well, I'm going to give them to you on the order of this ballot that I've got in my hand.
Okay, perfect.
But I'll start from the bottom and we'll end at the big one.
Yeah, we got
Okay, we'll do that. So starting at the bottom, we've got, I couldn't possibly have made this print any smaller for my old eye. There we go.
There we go.
So we're going to start with documentary short.
Documentary short. Okay.
Okay, so of course the one that won that was the Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone. What do you got to say about that?
Well, was Tony Hawk there because of that? Was he in that documentary? Because Tony Hawk was in the
yes, he was. You're right.
Was he in the audience?
I believe
because of that. Like,
yeah, that would make sense.
Because I was like, my son was the one that pointed him out. He's like, "Oh, there's Tony Hawk," and
Oh.
I'm like, we must be in the movie of some sort. Like maybe
Yeah.
they brought him in to show the girls some moves or something.
yeah.
Like I don't know.
That's a very good question. I did not make that connection.
I have
but
not
bet
seen
you're
this
right.
doc, so I have nothing really other than that to say. But I just noticed that was just something.
That's the thing. Well, see, here's the problem with these ones, like the documentaries or documentary shorts and the animated shorts. They're hard to find.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones that are the last things that I get to see because I can't find them anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Where are these shown?
Well, they're actually YouTube is a good place for them, a good place to find them. There are quite a few there that I discovered sort of a day or two ago. So if you can't find them anywhere, check that out. And because Netflix is becoming like the mega studio that it is,
Yeah.
a bunch of them are there too.
Oh, that's cool.
So they're out there. They're just you kind of got to search the streamers.
The streamers. All right.
All right. So next up, we've got live action short. Once
Live
again,
action short. We love the shorts.
once again, I did not see a lot. I did nothing. Brotherhood did win this one, and
Okay.
and it is by the way, I believe on YouTube. So if you do want to check it out, Brotherhood, the one that won,
Yep. Okay.
that is the one that's there.
All right.
Animated short.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have something to say about this.
Okay.
Okay, so the one that won this one is called Hair Love.
Right.
And it's essentially about a little girl, like an African American girl who has like a lot of hair and is struggling to sort of figure out how to style it.
Yeah.
And she's watching like a hair cutting blog like on her iPad or whatever and trying to figure it out, and she can't do it. And her dad sort of sees her struggling and comes to help. It appears that there's no mother there, so he's trying to help and he's trying to figure this out. And he kind of does, but he doesn't. But anyway, then they leave and then they end up going to a hospital where you're introduced to the mother who is there because she has cancer and she doesn't have any hair anymore. But she's it turns out was the one who was creating these hair blogs, like this hair styling
yeah,
blogs.
yeah.
So it was just her missing her mom, and it's very sort of touching and that sort of thing. So that's what that one is about. I saw that one. The other one that I saw, and I didn't see all of them because they weren't all accessible to me.
Yes.
But the other one that I saw is called Kit Bull.
Yep.
And it was the Hair Love was produced by Sony Entertainment, Sony Animation. Kit Bull was produced by Pixar. It was their Pixar thing. So it's essentially about a kitten who sort of jumps into a junkyard kind of area, and he's playing around and realizes that in that junkyard there's a pit bull also. So there's like these moments of tension, and there's this like, what's going to happen? And as the story progresses slowly, you realize that the pit bull is there because he's a fighting dog. Like he's been chained up, and they take him in to fight other dogs, and he's all cut up and whatever. And so it's about this relationship between the dog and the cat, and how it eventually becomes this like cute relationship. Anyway, so I watched, those are the two I watched. I thought Kit Bull was infinitely better.
Yeah.
It hit all the emotions. The animation was great. I thought it was a fantastic 6-minute short.
Yeah.
It was really good. The other one, Hair Love, was good. It was well done, but I didn't feel any emotion. I didn't make the connection to the characters like I did in Kit Bull. So I don't quite get what the hype was about that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure, but anyway, so
they're looking for, I guess.
I suppose it was. So that anyway, that was my little. I was hoping Kit Bull would win, but it did not. So anyway, that's my little. That's my take on that category.
All right.
And then we move into visual effects.
Okay.
Okay, so visual effects, we had Avengers, The Irishman, Lion King, 1917, and Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. I was, of course, hoping that Star Wars might get something, but of course it didn't. So it went to 1917.
Yep.
Which I was debating between 1917 and The Lion King on this one.
Okay.
Because The Lion King was fully animated, but it looked 100% photorealistic. It looked like a real world.
Yeah.
And it was pretty spectacular as far as that goes. So I didn't know kind of which direction they were going to go, but the experts seem to think that 1917 was the way to go, and that's, of course, where it went.
Well, there were some things that they showed. I like how they showed in the packages, like they'd show like a scene, but then they'd show like the scene with the green screens or whatever. I didn't realize a lot of those buildings weren't even there.
No,
So then I was like, okay, that impresses me even more now that I see what they've done in some of those situations. But
yeah, because I thought everything was there, and they were just moving cameras through sets that they built. I didn't realize either that it was so like CG'd. 1917, but it was. And
I feel like an Endgame or a Star Wars, even though it's so CG'd and so like visual effects, that it's almost overlooked because it's too much. They're like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. Like let's go for someone that maybe does something that we're not expecting.
Yes,
less is more, I guess.
Exactly. And those like the Endgame and the Star Wars ones, they look CG. Like they're on different planets, and they're like, you know that it's CG. It's when it's like the 1917s when you think it's real, and then find out later that it's all fake. That's when it's really impressive.
Yeah. I thought the visual effects in The Irishman were good in that it was actually probably supposed to be a 2-hour movie, and it felt like a 3.5-hour movie.
Yeah, so they added all of that. That's really good.
That's part of visual effects. You seem like you're watching it forever.
That was really impressive. So it should have won. My favorite line from the entire broadcast last night was Chris Rock on stage with Steve Martin, and Chris Rock turns to Martin Scorsese and says, "Martin, I just want to let you know, I loved the first season of The Irishman." I thought that was brilliant, because that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Anyway, all right, moving up. Then we have the sound editing and sound mixing categories.
Okay.
So traditionally, this is the same film wins both. Like, I'd say
you would think it'd go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, like 8 times out of 10, it's the same movie that wins both categories.
Yeah.
So I went Ford versus Ferrari on this one because the sound effects in the driving, the racing, and it was just unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
So I went with both. But this year they split it. So the Ford versus Ferrari went with sound editing, and 1917 went sound mixing.
So what's the difference between mixing and editing? Every year I think of this and I'm like,
what's the
like what would be the difference? I know mixing's obviously mixing it into the film and the music and everything, but
I think that the sound editing is literally adding the sounds. So
Yeah.
adding sound effects, like finding sound effects to match the video,
Yeah.
is sound editing.
and then mixing
this-
is mixing everything together.
Yeah, with
like,
the music, with the sound, it's like literally, and I think it's also mixing the score.
that's the rendering.
Yes,
of the,
exactly.
that's the person has to wait to render for 4 hours.
That's right.
For the
for
that
exactly.
scene.
Yeah, so it should really go to the computer.
Yeah, the computer should run that
Yeah,
one.
but so that's so I think mixing involves the music as well, whereas sound editing I think is just like the placing of sound effects.
Right.
Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I believe
Yeah,
that's
that
what it
sounds
is.
about. That's probably sounds about
Yeah,
right.
so I
I
think
thought
that's what it is.
1917 though was pretty cool because there was a lot of explosions in the background.
Yes.
There was a lot of stuff going on, like
Yeah.
sound wise at all times. Like it was kind of a soundscape, that movie. So
It was. Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that it was like won something.
Yeah, no, it made sense to me after I saw it.
Because
I
it was
just-
it was sound mixing is what it won.
Yeah. But I was surprised that they split. It was two different movies that won that one because it's so
But then
random.
when you see something like Rise of Skywalker and you're like, that has so many sounds in it.
I know,
Like
well,
it's
the-
like
yeah.
there's so much going on. But again, it's too much. Like it's
It
like
might be. They
Yeah.
might think it's overdone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, less is more kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe that's where they're. I don't really know how people vote when it comes
I
to
don't
stuff
know.
like this.
At least like Star Wars was in there, like in the category.
Yeah, it got nominated.
Joker, I was like, why is this in here? Like there was nothing really in that that movie that I'm really like, oh, it had those great sounds, like sound mixing.
I mean,
going
it was
on in
more
there, or
just
sound
sort of.
editing.
Yeah, it was more just like natural sounds of the city.
Yeah, like I don't know,
Kinda.
maybe there's more to it than we know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because are these voted by their peers?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah. So each category is voted by the people who do it.
Yeah.
So the sound, like professional sound mixers and editors, would only vote for that category, I believe. But I think everybody votes for Best Picture.
Okay.
So everybody gets that one. But then the people who specialize vote for the other ones.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Moving up. Production design. This one?
If you hear some
Scrolling.
scrolling, it's because I've got this whole screen up with all the movies. Like there's
Perfect.
pictures of them all. So
Oh,
I'm on the
pictures.
I'm on Oscars.go.com.
Oh, okay.
So
Fair
I'm
enough. You get pictures. I got just print over here.
Yeah,
you got the exciting side.
This is why I can see all the nominees.
Oh,
as well.
perfect.
Okay, so
All
production. Okay, got it.
Yep. So production is right there. So that went to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep.
I thought it would go to 1917. I was wrong. It went to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which in retrospect I agree with. I think
Yeah.
that's because they rebuilt like 4 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard to look like 1969.
Yeah.
So they put up the old neon. They changed every storefront.
Well,
They-
even inside the actual like apartments and
Yeah.
and like places they lived, all had that feel, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's amazing when you think
and
of what
like
they did.
the sets they were on all had to have that sort of feel as well.
Yeah.
If they're a Western set or whatever.
And they were all real too. I mean, 1917 obviously had a lot of CG buildings and things like that. But as far as I know, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, those were all like real buildings. Like they really replaced storefronts and things like that.
I said the women that won looked like they actually lived in that time
Yes,
period,
so
it's
they
like-
would know.
So they knew it better than anyone.
Exactly. They were a perfect hire for that one. Makeup and hairstyling went to Bombshell. And that seemed to be the general consensus. I didn't actually see Bombshell. Did you?
I
see
haven't
Bombshell?
seen it. No.
But I mean, it was it's like a female-centric cast, and so there's a lot of different hairstyles, a lot of makeup, and that sort of thing. And so I assume that's.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, which kind of surprised me because, I mean, 1917 had a lot of, war-looking makeup, like to make them look like they were in the midst of battle and stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on that.
I don't know enough about it to like
Yeah.
really make judgments on
No.
it. Like,
So we just kind
because
of
makeup to me, like the Joker's a situation, or even Maleficent,
Maleficent.
yeah, are two that they're characters that wear makeup,
Yes.
like actual like stage makeup or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's like I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
I don't know.
We just skip those ones. We just make guesses and we move along.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so then we go up to editing. And the Ford versus Ferrari won this one. And I could see that as somebody who's worked in television for a long, long time and does a lot of editing. I could see how impressive the editing was in that, as far as keeping the pacing going and making the races exciting. It was, I mean, it could very easily have been just, you know, a camera following a car, but they did an awful lot to make that movie like 100 times more exciting with their quick cuts and their angles and where they place things.
Yeah, just looking at who was up there, I don't think that any of them, like, I mean, Parasite might be the next best, I think, in that category.
Yeah.
The Irishman, they got it because someone actually had to sit for 3.5 hours and edit that.
This is true. No, so, I mean, the problem with the editing is that they didn't edit enough out of The Irishman.
Well, but someone actually had to edit that much because he was being told to. So
I also think that the original cut
exhaustion alone is like worth it.
The original cut was 10 hours long.
Oh, God.
So they edited down to 3.5. So that's pretty good.
Ridiculous.
So, and then moving up, we've got costume design, which went to Little Women.
Okay.
Which makes sense because it's a period piece.
Yeah, I said as soon as that came up, I said I'll guarantee you Little Women because it's a period piece. And everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And of course it won. I'm like, yeah,
it's true. If there's a period piece in the category,
yeah, I don't know why they love that. The Academy loves a good period piece.
They really do. They love it. And it's, I mean, I guess the clothing is a bit more complicated. Like it's not new fashion, so they do have to like add more layers and.
See, I would say in that category, looking at it, I would say Jojo Rabbit. And I'll tell you, because I think the clothes are important to what happened in that. They're part of the story.
Yes.
Like her shoes were part of the story. Like the way she dressed. Like I think that like Scarlett Johansson, like I think there was a lot in that really set the tone in that based on how they looked.
Yes, I agree.
So I felt like the clothes in that were almost a character in it.
I agree. That's a good way of looking at it. And it's also a period piece.
It is essentially, but not
not
like,
the same period.
Yeah, not the like the 17th century or whatever.
No.
Whenever that happened, I have no clue.
Yeah. So that's So that went there. That was relatively predictable, I think.
Yeah.
Cinematography went to Roger Deakins, 1917. My thought is, if Roger Deakins is involved in this category at all, put your money on him. he's gonna win it, hands down. I think it's just a given with him.
The only other one I thought maybe in this category, I haven't seen it. You have is Lighthouse, just because it looks cool.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know what that like.
Well, it was all black and white, Lighthouse, and it was beautiful. Like it was unbelievably well shot, and it looked amazing. But I think the problem was that it was essentially sort of a couple of locations through the whole movie, so there wasn't a big variety of area that they had to consider. You know, as far as, I mean, compared to 1917, where, you know, went through trenches and towns.
That was a pretty amazing movie, actually, as far as that went.
It went. So I feel like, and again, Roger Deakins.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, moving up to original song. This is the part of the Oscar broadcast that I find kind of interesting. Like just watching it, just because the performances are pretty cool.
Yeah,
like even if you don't know the songs, they're pretty spectacular what they do with these with the performances. Like when Elton John went up on stage to perform "I'm Gonna Love Me Again," that performance was phenomenal. Like the staging was crazy.
Can I say a huge mistake that they did on this one?
Yeah, no, not enough cats.
No, it had to do with Eminem.
Oh, okay.
I love that Eminem performed.
Yeah.
I had nothing against Eminem performing. I thought that was cool.
Okay.
The only problem is that whole package, how they showed like how songs you relate them to movies.
Yes.
Really, it's showed how lame original songs have been the last like 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
Because there was a time when you would associate a song with a movie instantaneously.
Yes.
Because that like the soundtracks were such a bigger deal back then.
Yeah.
Now soundtracks aren't really as big a deal, so songs don't really like stick out like Gangster's Paradise, you know what I mean? Like that. Like when's the last like big soundtrack song that you really remember being a big hit?
Yeah,
that everyone loved, and that was actually like maybe like.
Well, unless you're a Disney movie and then you get Frozen, then you get like.
Yeah, that's about the only one I can think of.
But it's really only Disney movies.
And maybe some Bond ones, maybe in there. Like there's the Adele one, like the.
I guess.
Like,
yeah, I suppose.
But I don't know. But there's nothing like a Highway to the Danger Zone or a Footloose or like those type of movies. Like, and so when they're performing them last, I'm like, I've never heard of any of these. Like the only one I kind of heard it was the Elton John only because I'd seen the movie.
Yeah.
But I've never. It's like none of them are really being played anywhere.
No.
Like Randy Newman's songs sound all exactly the same.
They do.
To me. Like, it's exactly the same. And not
Yeah.
that he's not talented. I just find like it's like I think I texted you and said if I never hear a Randy Newman song again, it'll be I'll be fine
You'll
with
be
it.
fine.
Like I'll be okay. I just find they all just sound the same. Like,
Yeah, they do a lot of his stuff, and I mean his sound is now associated with Toy Story and those
Yeah.
Pixar movies. So you could, but you're right. I mean, you don't have those iconic, like they pretty much stopped the montage of songs and movies in like 2003 with Eminem's.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really have a lot of new movies in that montage. Like, it
yeah,
was
because,
all
because there's
old
nothing
stuff.
there's nothing that's like really stands out anymore. That's
Yeah.
like other than Frozen or something like that's like this is a hit song and it's in a movie. Like
Yes.
it's like there's very few of those. Like and I'm last night
Yeah.
I'm like these are just like sound like stuff that would just be on the original score or something.
Yeah.
Like it's not really.
Yeah.
They weren't jumping out at me as like these are great songs or anything.
No,
like,
and I mean, I guess the last one I can think of is the Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
yeah, that one you would relate to that song specifically.
but that was rare. Like
Yeah,
I think
it's
what,
rare,
I think
yeah.
that's why that one was so big was because it doesn't happen very often anymore.
Yeah, but there'd be a time when like at least three of those songs would be like, oh yeah, I know this from this movie.
Yeah.
Like, now it's like I don't know hardly any of the songs anymore.
No,
but-
it's true, and most of
and that was the only thing I was saying. Like it was a mistake almost showing that because then it really accentuated why
Yes.
we don't remember any of these soundtrack. And I think it's just a sign of the times. Soundtracks just aren't as big a deal as they used to be.
I think you're
but-
right. Well, and now the main song, like if they bring in an artist to sing a song, it's over the final credits. Like it's not mixed into the movie.
Yeah, it's not part of the movie or part of the action. Or,
so most people leave during the credits, so they're not even hearing like the good version of whatever song they've written.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different thing.
But
But,
Eminem was fine. And I know there's people who were like, why is he performing at it? But it made sense because they did that pack. Because usually every year
Yeah.
they do some sort of package on some aspect of movies,
Like,
right? And
yeah,
so this
movie
one they just
history or
focused
something.
on that, and it was a perfect opportunity to bring him back, who never
Yep.
performed it in the first place, like
Yep.
20 years ago or whatever.
And,
then
and doesn't
or
he have
18
an
years ago.
album?
He's a brand new album too.
Yeah, so there might be that too.
It made total sense to bring him back.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun, and people were into it. And
It was really good. You know what I realized though? I haven't seen him like on TV or anywhere I can't even tell you. I didn't recognize him.
Oh yeah.
Like he's got a full beard now.
Yeah,
I'm like, who have they brought out to sing this song?
Yeah, the last time I saw him like at an award show, I can't remember. It might have been American Music Awards where Sacha Baron Cohen came down
yes.
from the audience and his head landed in his crotch.
Yes.
Remember that? And
Yeah.
it made it look like he was really mad at him. Like it actually like they did some bit. Like
Yeah.
but everyone
Oh, that
was like,
was
oh my god,
years ago.
yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I mean that was pretty cool, and it was great, and the audience was loving it.
Yeah.
yeah. So that I thought that was cool. I kind of like the songs side of things. Also it breaks up sort of the monotony of the show.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what I
that's
mean?
true. Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. So that was original song, original score. Again, I really hoped because John Williams was nominated for this one. I was really hoping that the Academy would give him an Oscar for his very last time creating a soundtrack for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because he said this is it. He's not doing anymore. I kind of thought that it would be nice as like a send off.
Give him the Oscar.
Come on, who's it gonna hurt, really? You know?
Yeah.
But nope, he didn't. It went to how do you pronounce it? Hildur Gudendorfer.
Oh, for Joker.
For
Which
Joker.
was weird too. I was like, that's an interesting one.
Yeah,
but-
well, and she also won the Golden Globe for it. Like she's
Yeah.
been on a bit of a run with this one, it was a good soundtrack. Like it was a good score.
Yeah.
I actually thought it was quite good. But I just, just my own personal, fanboy thing. I just was really hoping that they'd give it to John Williams. But then I thought about it and I thought, the soundtrack was good. But he's got material to base it on already. It's not completely original because
Yeah.
there are themes that continue through all the Star Wars movies that he builds on.
Yeah.
So I guess I can understand why they didn't give it to him because it's not entirely brand new.
Can I just say, in the original score, they had the part where they played like bits and pieces of all the scores.
Yes.
That woman was intense.
Holy cow.
I always forget how intense a conductor is.
Yes.
Like she was super intense.
She
man.
was
like,
really into it.
I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
She looked like she's wearing like a cool bulletproof vest.
She did.
Like,
I thought she was a matador.
Yeah, it looked very superhero-ish, whatever
It
she was
did.
wearing.
Yeah,
but
it was cool. And she was the first female conductor that's ever conducted the orchestra for the.
That's cool.
It was really
But
cool.
she was like, man, those conductors are intense.
Yeah,
Like, they're
she was-
frightening.
Yeah, one like wrong move and she put an eye out.
Super.
So thanks. So then we move on to documentary feature. Again, I wasn't able to see any of these.
Yeah.
Did you? No?
No,
Okay.
no.
Went to American Factory,
Yep.
which I wouldn't mind seeing now. But anyway. Animated feature. So I have a little thing to say about this one, too.
Me too, because I know I've seen
You
all of them.
you are
Yeah.
all about the animated features.
I love a good animated feature.
So, of course, it went to Toy Story 4 because if
I
there's a
could have said
Pixar
that
movie,
right off the top.
yeah, if there's a Pixar movie in the badge, it's going there.
Yeah.
And it was a great movie. Like I'm not denying how good this movie was because it was fantastic and the animation was also fantastic. However, I really wanted to see Missing Link win this one. This is the movie that was put out by a studio called Leica, and they're the ones who did Coraline and Paranorman and Box Trolls.
Okay, yep.
And they did Kubo and the Two Strings. This is their 5th movie. And these movies they're not traditional animation; they're stop motion animation, which means that the figures are real.
I've seen at least 3 of those ones you've said.
Yes, you have. Yeah. So they're real figures, like they're physical, like dolls that they have to move a tiny bit, and then take 2 frames of film, move again.
Like
take
time consuming.
It takes apparently something like 4 years to create one of these movies, but they're all done by hand, which means every piece of the set, everything that they interact with is all handmade to scale. And then they have to move like this. It's such a tedious process, and it's amazing what they're able to do. Plus, the story is really good.
Yeah.
So I just felt like. I thought the story was as good as Toy Story 4, but I think the amount of work that it took to put this thing together and make it deserves some recognition.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed.
Some of these categories, I know they had to put five people in them, but sometimes I think like they could maybe go 4 in some of them. Like I mean,
so.
Does How to Train Your Dragon really need to be in there?
Well,
like
yeah, and it wasn't going to win. Like
yeah,
it wasn't.
I felt like that was just like they needed to throw something. I'm like, this must have been a pretty like weak year for animated movies if that was put in. Like,
Yeah.
It just seemed like that seems like something that should have gone straight to home video.
Yeah, I mean,
There, I said home video for you.
You did. Thank you, Vestron. Yeah, I don't know why they have to make categories a certain number. Like why they have to include a certain number of movies per category. Because you're right. I mean,
Maybe it helps the industry if they have an extra movie.
yeah,
in
and
there.
it boosts sales and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But so I was disappointed. I was disappointed at Missing Link. So I'm hoping one day Leica makes a movie that will win this category because they should. They did win the Golden Globe though.
Oh, that's
for
good.
For that, so I'm happy with that.
That's
that
good.
was
You
a
know
bit
what?
of-
The Golden Globe's sometimes worth more.
Exactly. I was all right with that. All right, then we move on to international feature, which
All right.
it took me until the very end.
Animated short.
Yeah, that was the one with the cat.
Oh,
cat
gotcha.
couple.
Yeah. Sorry. So many things.
I know it's a lot of animation going on.
Okay,
here.
so what are we on now?
We're on international feature.
Okay, which used to be foreign language film.
Yes, and I did not even realize
I didn't catch that either.
until literally they said it at the end of when Parasite won.
Yeah.
And he said, "I want to," or when the director won and said, "I want to thank the Academy for making the change." It didn't even occur to me that they had done that. But I think it's so smart.
And then right after, did you think, why was it ever called foreign language
Yes.
film? Is that the dumbest name?
It really
when
is.
it really pigeonholes it. Like
Well,
it's
yeah.
such a like English language thing to do.
It is.
It's like, oh, that's a foreign language film. It's like
Yeah.
it's an international film. Like
That's
that's really
right.
what it is. Like
Well,
it's like
but what's interesting is that not all of them are foreign language because Canada has been included. Like Canada has had.
Yeah, we had a
movies
movie in there.
I mean, I think
Men
before
with
we-
Brooms, I think was
Yes, I think Goon was in there. Yep.
Porky's at one point.
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty sure they were all in
was
there.
in there.
That's right. We're not a foreign language.
Yeah.
Although there have been some French Canadian films put
Yes.
in there that
Good
but-
cop, Bon cop.
Exactly. That's right. But,
I'm running out of Canadian films.
Yeah,
to
that's
mention in
that
this
was
go
all
there.
of them, I believe. But anyway, I think this is smart. International feature.
I love that.
think-
I love that
yeah,
they changed that.
Me too. I thought that was.
I've got another change I think they should make, but we'll get to it in a
All
second.
right. Okay. Perfect. So international feature, of course, went to Parasite. There was no question. I don't think anybody thought anything else.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. Yeah. So moving on. We'll talk about Parasite in a minute. As we
Yes.
get
But yeah, it was
closer to
cool.
the big ones.
Parasite. Well, I knew that
Yeah.
was like a fan favorite, like
Yes.
going into this,
Yeah,
and
that was a bit of a lock.
Okay, and when we get the best picture too, we'll kind of just give our little thoughts on each picture. 'Cause
Yes,
it's like
because we did manage, by the way, to see all 9.
yes,
Yes.
and we're gonna brag about that.
Yeah, we
because,
are because we're proud.
Yeah, already.
Adapted screenplay. Now we're into the screenplay sections. Adapted screenplay went to Taika Waititi for
That's
Jojo
good,
Rabbit.
good way to.
Yeah. Jojo Rabbit, which
Was it Taika Waititi?
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, that's such a weird name.
I know, Taika Waititi, for Jojo Rabbit, and I think that was perfect.
Yeah.
I think that was the perfect choice for this one. I mean, it was up against Joker, Irishman, Little Women, and the two popes.
Yeah.
But like so here's just, I know we're not at the best pictures. Okay, I'll wait for this one.
Okay,
But anyway, I thought that was a great choice.
You know the thing with Irishman, and I keep like slogging on it, but it did get me to read more information about those characters.
Right.
Like based on like the screenplay, like
Yeah.
I was like, this is interesting, like who this person is
Yeah.
in real life, like the one that De Niro played.
Yep.
So I did go back and kind of research a little bit about the book
Yep.
that it was based on because it sort of interested me. Will
Yeah.
I ever read it? No, but
No,
it was,
but you know
at
more
least
about it.
It was intriguing enough a story that I was like, I got to see a little bit more about this. Like,
Yes.
So, anyways.
Exactly, and that's the point, is just get you intrigued. But Jojo Rabbit, I saw Jojo Rabbit twice in the theater because it's right up there with one of my maybe even top 10 movies of all time.
I love Jojo Rabbit. I don't know what it was about it, but we'll talk about it when we get to it.
We'll get there. Okay, so that was adapted screenplay. Original screenplay, I was really hoping that it would go to Quentin Tarantino. Just because
I was hoping so too.
I love Tarantino, and I would give him awards for everything he does.
Yeah.
But I actually thought that he's won it before, I believe. I think he's won screenplay before. Original screenplay.
I believe he has.
I think I can't remember now which one. I don't know if it was Inglourious Bastards, maybe, or Pulp Fiction. Maybe it might have been Pulp
He
Fiction.
may have won Pulp Fiction.
Maybe that was what it was. Loop's looking it up right now.
I'm looking it up right now.
So while he's looking it up, it actually went to Bong Joon-ho for Parasite, and Parasite was the last movie I saw in the list of the 9 best pictures.
Yeah.
And having seen it, I saw it like the Saturday right before Oscars. And then I kind of changed my mind. Because I think Parasite is probably the most original script I've seen in forever.
It's one of those scripts, because I've written plays and stuff,
Yeah.
and you start watching it and you're like, oh, this is such a like I don't know if I've seen a concept like it before.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is really cool.
Yes.
How it started going together. I don't want to give away too much if you haven't seen it.
This is one you don't want to give away.
Yeah, but it's such a concept where you're like, oh, how has no one done this before? This is a very cool concept.
Like the idea of it isn't. So I was talking to somebody today who said the closest they could come to comparing it to something is The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like that. Like it's sort of like The Talented Mr. Ripley, but then he takes it in a direction that you do not see coming.
Yeah.
And the ending is like way not what you see coming.
Yeah.
And it's so smart, and it's so I literally, it was one of those movies that I finished and then I really wanted to like start all over again. I almost said rewind, but I wanted to put in the VCR and hit that rewind button, and I just thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
in every way. So that was a well-deserved original screenplay award.
Okay, I'm just gonna interject.
Oh, yeah,
here
you got
on the
something?
Tarantino watch.
All right.
2020. Okay, so he's been nominated for Best Picture once.
Right.
Once Upon a Time.
Oh yeah.
So none of his
Oh,
other
really?
movies, has never been nominated.
What?
Best Director 3 times, never won.
No.
But been nominated 3 times.
Okay.
Best Original Screenplay, nominated 4 times, won twice.
Oh, twice.
Pulp Fiction he won, and Django Unchained
Oh, Django
won. Nominated was Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
So that's where he.
That's where he
Thank
is.
you, Google.
Thank
on
you.
that.
It knows stuff so fast.
I know, it just knows everything.
Awesome. Okay, well, I feel all right about that. I just want to, because Tarantino's also said that his next movie is his last. He's going to make 10 movies and that's it.
I
That's what he
noticed. I
said.
noticed Brad Pitt said something.
What did he say?
Well, we'll get to it. When
Oh,
we get
okay,
to
we'll
it.
get there. But anyway, that's what he has said. So I just would like him to win. I'd love to see him win director at least.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So moving on. Now we're into the big ones here. Actress in a supporting role went to Laura Dern from Marriage Story.
Okay.
I think that was a good choice. What do you think? What's your take on that?
I've got a different take on that.
Okay.
I love Laura Dern. I'm a big
Okay.
Laura Dern fan because I'm a David Lynch fan, and Laura Dern's sort of part of
Right.
his little
Yep.
crew, and she is so incredible in a lot of the movies that he's done.
Yeah.
And she's just every time she's in a movie, you it's hard to take your eyes off her because
Right.
she's just good at what she does.
Yeah.
I think she deserves everything she gets. I was just looking at this who was in it. I haven't seen Bombshell. There's a few. I haven't seen Bombshell or Richard Jewell.
Right.
I'm a big Kathy Bates fan too, by
Yes,
the way. I
yes.
love Kathy Bates.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're putting her up against, I feel like even Scarlett Johansson in the role she had, even though it was a smaller role,
Yeah.
so was Laura Dern's. Laura Dern's
It was
role
not a
was
big
not
role.
a big
No.
role. I just thought Scarlett Johansson's was almost more like it moved me more than hers. I felt Florence, is it Pugh or
Pugh, yeah.
I thought her role in Little Women even was like more meaty,
Yeah.
and had more to it than I don't know. I just feel like I don't know if that was the right thing for her to win.
Okay. Fair enough.
But
I can see that.
she was fantastic in it.
Yeah.
I just when I kind of look at what the other people did in the other movies,
Yeah.
I just don't know if that was. But
Yeah.
I love Laura Dern, so she can win.
So
whatever.
you're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I agree with you. My whole thing was, I thought the performances in Marriage Story were some of the best of the whole year. And I think Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver were phenomenal. So but I knew that Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson were not going to win for those categories because they were up against Joaquin Phoenix and Renee. So I was kind of happy that somebody from that movie won an award because I just thought the acting in Marriage Story was through the roof.
Yeah.
It was some of the best performance, some of the most raw and real
It
performances.
was an actor's movie for
Yeah.
sure, more than it was a watching movie.
Yes. Yes.
We'll get to that when we get to Marriage Story.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, all
yeah.
right.
So that was that one. Actor in a supporting role, of course, went to Brad Pitt because he's won absolutely every award for this
And
role.
that surprises me.
Yeah.
And I liked him in that. It just didn't he was great, as he usually is. I don't know. It was it just seemed like him walking through a movie.
Well, I was talking to somebody, and I feel like that role was as close to the real Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
Not that I know Brad Pitt or know anything about what he's like in real life, but I feel like that's what he's like in real life.
it just wasn't it just seemed like a role
Yeah.
not that I can say anyone could play, but
No,
it was he obviously brought a lot to the role that no one else would have brought to that. But I don't know. I love Joe Pesci and
That's what I was just
an
gonna say.
Irishman.
Yeah.
I just thought he was it was just he had such a cool demeanor in it,
Yep.
and here they are killing people, and he's just sort of hey, you know what? This is just the way things are. This is the way that this is how we do things.
Yeah.
And he was just so cool in it, and
and for his role, both him and was Al Pacino, they had to change their performance based on age.
Yeah.
They aged 40 years or 50 years or something across the movie.
Yeah.
So they had to change how they performed. A young man doesn't act the same way as an 80-year-old man in a wheelchair does.
Yeah.
So they had to literally change their persona throughout the course of the movie. I feel like that was a harder job.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's job wasn't easy, but he was Brad Pitt from start to finish. He was the same guy, But these guys they had to work to really figure out how they would have behaved as they aged. And
Yeah.
I think that's a whole different level of acting. So it really surprised me that Pesci didn't win. I would love to have seen Pesci win for that. As long as The Irishman was and drawn out, the performances were fantastic.
yeah, no, I thought it was it was good.
I thought they were good. All right, now we're up to the big four here, the top four. Actress in a leading role went to, of course, Renee Zellweger because, like Brad Pitt, she's been winning every single awards, prize this whole season. So that was pretty much a lock.
I haven't seen her in that. I'm sure she's fantastic. Her speech was meandering. If you're gonna go up there, I'll talk about this in a bit, but I just felt like I expect more from the best actor and actresses when they go up to do speeches.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to keep it concise and just.
And I felt like she threw a whole thing in there. She was trying to do something because everybody's always doing these political things. I thought she was trying to do that, but she really had nothing to say.
No.
So she was kind of just I don't know where she was going with it. It just was okay, get out. I just wanted to pull a parachute and get her off
Yes,
there because
seriously.
it was.
And I don't. My problem was that because she's won every award, she's thanked the same people multiple times. She thanked them at the Golden Globes. She thanked them at the SAG Awards.
Yeah.
She thanked them again. Like, you know, you don't need to like. And this is why Joaquin Phoenix. We can get there in a minute, but this is why Joaquin Phoenix did a good job. I thought with his speech, because he had done the same thing. He had won every award and thanked people at the other awards. So he had done that. So he used this time as like a platform to talk about his political views and that and that sort of thing, and changed it up, but kept it tight. He obviously had it rehearsed, kind of things, had something prepared and written, and it was really good. So I'm not sure what happened.
Here's the other thing I was going to mention before that I was leading up to earlier for the actress and actor and all that. Like, I'd like to see it be actor in a leading role, female, actor in a leading role, male.
That's good.
And the only reason I say that is because, I mean, it's now they've changed the international one.
Yeah.
I feel like it's about time that it's like, because they're actors.
Yes,
They're
and they all say that.
Yeah.
Like if you ask any of them.
I just think actors is a bit of like an older term.
Yes.
And I just think it should be actor in a lead role, male, actor in a lead role, female.
I completely agree.
It's a little change, but I think it means a lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and
a lot of places are doing that. Like that's sort of like the newer thing. But I don't know.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if that happens.
Yeah.
In the next couple of years, I could totally see that. If they've started with you can't push these guys. They're like a bunch of old people who are sitting around a boardroom saying, "Well, it's been tradition forever." So, but anyway, I agree. I think that would make much more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my one last thought on Renee Zellweger. I did see Judy. That was the one movie outside the Best Pictures that I wanted to see because she had been nominated and won all these things. I wanted to see the performance. It was good.
Okay. All right.
She did a very good job of portraying Judy Garland, and I forgot several times that it was actually Renee Zellweger. It looked like Judy Garland. She looked like Judy Garland, and it was very good. But when you compare that performance to Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story, they're not on the same level. Like Scarlett Johansson's performance was so like internalized. You know what I mean? Like to me, those performances felt like they were real, and they just happened to have cameras in the room catching real people, talking from their heart. Yeah. And I just thought her performance was so powerful, Scarlett Johansson, and I didn't get that same feeling from Renee Zellweger. But here's my theory on why she won. Because actors tend to vote for actors who portray actors. You know what I mean? Like, actors love when movies are made about Hollywood, about actors. So she was an actor portraying like an iconic actress, and she did a very good job at it. And I think that is what attracted a lot of like Academy voters to it, because honestly, I just thought that Scarlett Johansson was a much stronger performance.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because they show the clips.
Yeah.
And there was a clip of I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. It's like Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
From Harriet.
Yeah.
And her, just that little tiny clip from that movie looked way better than anything that Renee Zellweger has done. That I've seen that movie. I haven't watched the movie, so I can't really make a proper judgment on it. But I just like even that little clip. I'm like, that's intrigued me to see Harriet. Like I'm like, this looks kind of cool. Like,
it's true. So I don't know. I went with it on my ballot because I knew she was going to win, but I don't think that she was the best performance this year. That's my take.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough. Right. Okay. Now moving on to actor in a leading role. Of course, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I like Leo DiCaprio. Oh, yeah. I don't think he should have been nominated for that role. Again, it just seems like a Tarantino-y role.
Yes.
It's like just cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But it doesn't seem like he's really stretched to. I mean, though there was some scenes in there that where he was crying when he was talking to that girl and stuff.
And when he went into his trailer and
I guess there was some stuff in there.
But it wasn't consistent. Like it wasn't all like that. Like Joaquin Phoenix was the Joker from the minute you saw him to the end of the movie. Like he was. Plus, he lost 50 pounds for the role. Like he seriously committed.
He was amazing.
Role.
He was amazing in that movie. There's no doubt. Like I haven't seen. I like Jonathan Pryce actually a lot.
And they're good. I got halfway through that movie.
Yeah, but
it's very talky.
But I just like Joaquin Phoenix like blew me away
Yeah.
in that role. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he
like-
was just so, and I like it was one of those roles that only he could have done.
Yeah.
Like somebody else could have played the Leonardo DiCaprio role.
Yeah.
Like could have cast in it like Bradley Cooper, or you know what I mean. Like somebody else could have been in that role.
Yeah.
Nobody else could have played the Joker.
Yeah.
That was just a given. I think that was 100%. And his speech at the end, like I said before, I think he was great. I enjoyed listening to him. So good for him.
Yeah, his speech. He had done a speech kind of similar with a different, like before that, with whatever the last awards was, like because there's a whole series of awards, like,
Yes.
Actors Guild or whatever it was. So I knew as soon as he went up there, he was going to launch into something.
Yep.
Okay. That's what, I just want to say. The other thing I'm going to say, I'm just going to get. It's like I feel he's sincere.
Yes.
I also feel he comes across as like he's acting a tiny bit.
Well, I had a discussion about this with somebody today. Like he is such a good actor, it's really hard to know if he's genuine or if he's acting. It's
because
really
it
hard.
almost seemed a little bit like it was like really dramatic. Like he's really throwing the drama. Like he just turned it up to 11 or whatever on it. Maybe he's doing that for effect. I don't know. Or maybe he's really that passionate about it.
Yeah.
The only thing is when you throw the kind of stuff he's throwing out there.
Yeah.
You've got to live it because you can't make a mistake. And I know you can't just say, "Oh, I used to be a scoundrel and I used to do that." It's like, yeah, but it's
you got to clean up.
You've got to live this now
Yeah.
because if you don't live it and be a genuine person on sets and do whatever you need to do, you can't use that excuse.
Yes.
Like that's not an excuse now because you've thrown all this out and tried to heighten everybody else to a certain level that you're pretending that everyone needs to be at, including yourself. Then you need to portray it.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big like sort of like I know he did say like I didn't like live that way, but it's like
I think he is vegan.
he is vegan. He's part of PETA. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the whole talking about forcing cows to give birth and that sort of thing, that was from the heart. So it would be great if he.
I'm sure it all was. It was like it just seemed almost a little performed.
It almost and I think like he had to have rehearsed that. Like there's no way he could have delivered that speech the way he did without like making it a performance and memorizing it and and getting through it. I thought so, but at least it was a good message.
Yeah,
like it was a good message.
No, and there's nothing against what he said.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to like bring him down or anything.
No.
it was just like because it was so passionate. I'm like I just had to question a little bit of it.
Was
like
real,
it was
genuine.
But I feel like it was a little bit rehearsed. But maybe not. I don't know. I can't get in the head of Joaquin Phoenix. I don't think anybody would want to.
There's no. Absolutely, that's one place you don't want to be.
Yeah.
No.
Alrighty.
Okay, so moving on, the big two, director. So I was a little bit divided. I was actually a little bit surprised by this one because I thought Sam Mendes was going to pick up the directing award. I think most people thought that for 1917. But of course it went to Bong Joon-ho for Parasite.
Yeah.
Which in retrospect I think is a good call.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was going to be Tarantino. That's what I thought.
Oh,
it was.
yeah.
I liked 1917.
Yeah.
I thought the whole like looking like it was one shot was
Yes.
really cool, but then I also thought it was a bit of a device.
yes.
So
well, that's
I don't know, but I thought it's Tarantino's time to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
like it's for directing.
And this was his this was his magnum opus. Like this was his making a movie about Hollywood. Like he lives and breathes Hollywood history. And this was his, like, if he was going to win an Oscar for directing, I think this was probably his shot at it.
Yeah.
But, so I'm a little bit sad. But I still thought that Sam Mendes, just because of the scope of what he did, like, for him to, like, coordinate the whole production of a single shot, making it look like a single shot. And even though the movie, like, it was a great movie. It wasn't one of my favorite movies of the year, but it was a fantastic movie. But just the scope of what he had to do, I thought would get him the director award. But it didn't, of course. But I think it makes sense that Bong Joon-ho got it because of, like, he wrote this thing. He created this world. He created something that nobody's ever seen before. Yeah. Which but a war movie, people have sort of seen that genre, and it 1917 didn't really change that genre too much. Yeah. But Parasite
interesting
changed it.
story for sure.
Yeah.
An interesting way to present it. I just like there's just something about Parasite that sort of stood out. Right?
Yeah. And speaking of Parasite, the big one of the night, Best Picture of the year.
Went to Cats.
What?
In a sudden swerve.
Yay!
The next day they said, "Oh wait, we read the
we
wrong
read
thing.
it wrong. Sorry
In
about
fact, we
that."
even forgot to nominate it.
But we're gonna give it to it anyway. There was a write-in vote. People just were demanding more cats.
The Cats won.
Yeah. Speaking of which, one of the other funny moments of the night was James Corden and Rebel Wilson dressed as cats.
Yeah, and making fun
and
of
making
that.
fun of the fact that they have to remember that because they were doing the special effects award.
Oh yeah, visual effects.
Visual effects, and that you kind of have to remember when you're doing a visual effects movie to make the visual effects good. I thought that was really well done.
That was really well done.
Yeah, like good for them for being able to laugh at themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. But Parasite won the night, and it got the most. It got the most number of awards. It got 4. For the night,
and
it
4
did
big
well.
ones too. Not even like
No.
4
like technical awards.
yeah. Like it was it was so good, and it was that was my outside. I only because I thought 1917 will probably win because it seems like the safest choice of these of the movies that were there.
Yeah.
But Parasite was my outside to probably win, possibly Jojo Rabbit. Like,
Yeah.
But I didn't know where it stood. Like with everybody, but it was just
like
such
in
a good,
the odds pools.
but
I wasn't sure
but
either.
Parasite was like my outside. But I'm so glad it won. Like
Me too.
It truly represented. I think like of the. We'll go through these movies just very quick, but I feel like it represented the best of this year,
Yes.
like by far. And it was because it was original.
Yeah.
It was cool. Like there was such a coolness and great storytelling, and just everything about it was like. The claustrophobia, even of like where they lived in the house, and the like the class structure, and it was so much. It said a lot, under the guise of something else as well, right?
Totally did. Absolutely, that's a good way to put it. It was just. I don't want to spoil any of it because it really is a unique experience. So if you get a chance to watch it, please do because it'll change your life.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I thought like we've talked about this movie, but I like. Excellent movie. Again, it could have been. It was a little long again, but it was.
To me, you can't make a long,
but
too long Quentin Tarantino.
It didn't feel long to
No.
me, like because I enjoy Quentin Tarantino a lot in his writing. So it's. But yeah, I don't know. Like, was there any other movie you thought could have been in there, like that could have been up there?
Well, I would love to have seen Tarantino win it. Like, I mean, I'm really glad Parasite did, but I think that this should have been Tarantino's year.
Yeah.
Like, I think if Parasite wasn't in there, it would have gone to Tarantino this year.
Yeah.
Because that's like it was the movie he was born to make.
Yep.
Like that was it. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't save that movie till the end of his career, like to the last movie if he's doing a last movie. But you said, now going back to this, you said Brad Pitt made a.
Oh, Brad Pitt made like a little like statement about Tarantino, and that he said if Tarantino's not around, it's a big loss to this industry.
Right.
And so kind of implying like don't stop making movies because we need you out there
exactly.
to make these.
I hope he does. The only thing I can think of is that he may not be making movies for the big screen anymore, but maybe he'll switch to the streaming services and make like Netflix type movies
or series or something
series
like,
or something like that. Like maybe he'll stop making long form movies, but maybe that's what he's going to do. I don't know. But I feel like if he was going to stop making movies, this is the movie he should have stopped on.
Yeah.
Because it's so Tarantino.
Yeah.
And it was great.
So I got something to mention about the best pictures.
All right. Do it.
And just see what you think on this.
Okay.
Now that Parasite, it won international,
Yeah.
and then it won best picture as well.
Yes.
Should the winner of the international picture always be in the best picture category? Because really,
Ooh.
I mean, maybe it's good enough to be international, not good enough to be in best picture, but
Right.
it you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
kind of like by putting it in the international category and it wins, then it should be as high up as any of the other movies that are in that category.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's not as good as the other ones, but that one made sense.
Yeah.
Like it's like by it being in that category, in the best picture category,
Yeah.
should tell me that it's going to win international.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
Like,
it does. Like it can't.
It
you
cannot
can't
not
go-
win it if it's in Best Picture.
That's right.
And then it's in international.
Yeah.
Like so, if I ever see an international picture in Best Picture, and
That's the one you're going for.
It's got to win
Yeah. By default.
by
essentially.
default. It's got to win international now
Yeah.
because why would it be in Best Picture,
That's
which is
right.
Best Picture?
Yeah, of
if-
all of the world now.
So if it's in
Yeah.
there, not that it has to win Best Picture, but it
Yeah.
should at least win the international because.
Yes.
It's basically saying it's the best of the best.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why aren't the other ones in there?
Exactly. It's
Boom.
almost like whoa.
I'm just saying, it set a precedent.
Yeah.
To say, basically, tell us hey, if we've nominated it, it's in the best picture, so it's as good. It's the best of the best.
It's almost like they wanted it to win, but just in case it didn't win Best Picture, they wanted it to be in the Best International Picture so that it would win that. Because I mean, you could also say, why even put it in the International Picture category? Yeah, like just make it Best Picture. It's considered one of the best pictures in the world right now. Yeah. So why not take it out of the international category? Just make it a Best Picture. But then, I mean,
I guess they'd have to do something like if it's an international. If it would be considered international and it's in the Best Picture category, it negates it from being in the international category or something. You can either be in one or the other.
Yeah.
It can't be in both. Yeah, of some sort. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, I agree. That's an interesting way to take it. I don't know
because if it's the best, if it's in the Best Picture, then it's got to be the winner of the best. Like really
else.
In theory, if it's international as well, it's got to be the best.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it turned out this year. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if they start including more international films in the Best Picture category. Yeah. Like I think that's going to be an interesting thing. The problem is that the Oscars is still so ratings driven. So if they have too many international films in the Best Picture category, people aren't going to care. Like, because so many people don't see these international films. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's why they opened it up to have 9 pictures in the category. So you could include films like Joker, which is a big popular movie.
But worthy of being in there, I think.
That one is definitely worthy. But
to take a superhero category and make a movie that doesn't feel like a superhero movie but do like a character study on a character, which is like so iconic, like the Joker, which so many people can take, as we've talked about, so many different takes on that character. Yep. I think that in itself is worthy of Best Picture
100%.
Because like that's a tough. Yeah. Because as soon as people see anything DC or Marvel, they're like, oh, they're not.
It's
like,
comic book.
Like Scorsese's already like,
exactly.
Nope.
Not cinema. Yeah. Yeah. No, that was a big one to top. But overall, I think that having seen all 9 movies, this was the strongest list of Best Pictures that I can think of in years. Like every one of these, I wasn't a huge fan of Little Women, I have to admit. It was okay.
Well, you know what?
Wasn't a huge fan
I think for you and I, it's probably just not the type of source material we would watch.
Maybe. Well, but
I would avoid a movie like that, like The Plague, generally. I thought it was well done.
It was well done. I didn't like the structure of it, like the going back and forth in time.
Yeah. Apparently, that's a different take on how they normally do it. Normally, it's like done like linear, but they've jumped back and forth apparently. But I mean. Maybe that's what made it more interesting.
Maybe, but I just thought every one of these movies was amazing. Like it was so hard for me to choose this year, which one was the best, because they were like, this was just such a good year for movies. 2019, I thought. Yeah,
I was not a huge fan of Marriage Story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought it didn't feel like a big movie to me.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was more like an indie film.
Yeah, it was like an actor's acting movie, but it was like, I just didn't feel like it was like as a movie. I didn't feel like it said a lot. Okay. But I found the subject matter a little annoying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I've been through it, so I found it very irritating to watch. Like, because I've seen lawyers. I mean, it's very realistic in what they. I mean, obviously it's on a much bigger level because it's in LA and there's actors involved and whatever, but. And bigger money involved, but it's like I just found it kind of irritating in that sense. Yeah. But I also found it like I just didn't feel like it really went anywhere. Yeah. Like, it was like it's more like a character study.
It was totally, and that's. For me, that's the kind of I like that kind of movie.
And I do normally too. Yeah. I just didn't feel like this was the right.
This was the one. For you.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyways, so let's just quickly talk about the Oscars overall. Anything that you felt like anything that. Not about the movies, but about the broadcast. Anything that you like sort of stood out.
So here's my takeaway from
any takes.
Yeah, here's my takeaway on the whole broadcast. We need Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph to host every Oscars
I was
from now on.
Yeah, I like them a lot.
They were so funny. Yeah, and it just I think without a host, it kind of drags on a bit. It's nice to have a really solid host that can come out every once in a while, crack some jokes based on what just happened, and make it funny and break up the monotony and the seriousness of it. And those two would be like the new Billy Crystal. Yeah, like, they're just so funny.
I don't think they need like the hosts don't need to overdo stuff, and that's the problem in the past, like Ellen vacuuming in front of people. So I don't think they need to do that much.
No,
but they can hold the show together, and I think that's really what they do. Like the odd like something that just happened, they can make a comment or whatever. Yeah, I totally agree. So, I have two things. Number one, they need to start keying people when they go up there.
Yes.
Like, especially when they first win, because I don't know who, like, I think one of them, I don't know who it was, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus or something, didn't even say what the movie was that won. They just said the people.
Yeah.
And so I had no clue who won.
I know.
And I don't remember them keying it, like, at all. So, I mean, I think they need to start keying these things a little more.
Yeah.
Just to keep us, like, so we know, oh, that one, these people won, or whoever.
And especially for the songs.
Yeah.
Because the songs, they didn't put any graphics on screen, so I had no idea what movies
this
these
was.
Songs were coming from.
I had to figure it out. I figured like Toy Story was probably when Randy Newman started playing. Like,
and Elton John we knew, but the other ones I'm like,
I know. And the other thing is, if you're gonna go up and you're gonna accept an Oscar and it's some sort of group formation, like, so you've won Best Editing, and there's 3 of you and whatever. Work out your speeches before you go up, and I'll tell you why. Because there's always one person that dominates the mic.
Yeah.
And this is a big moment for all 3 people. You've all won Oscars.
Yeah, you may never do it again.
Yeah, you go up there, and this one person has to thank his kids and his family and his whatever. Meanwhile, the other 2 are waiting to say something, and that person's dominated all 45 seconds. As soon as he's done, the other person goes to say something, and they start playing music and then drop the lights. And I feel really bad for those people.
I do too.
Because one person just couldn't keep their mouth shut for 5 seconds. There was one group at the very beginning that was the first group that came up as 3 people.
Yeah.
They came up. They all said something very quickly.
Yes.
They'd rehearsed it.
Yeah.
Boom, they were under 45 seconds and out of there, and they all looked amazing.
Yeah.
Like, they all had something a little bit different to say. Like, they thanked different people, in and out.
Yeah.
They don't need to do that. And also, here's my other thing with the speeches.
Okay.
You don't need to say every single person that's ever walked past you.
Or tripped
you
over.
mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just think, I like to thank everyone who worked on this picture, and just name the biggies, like maybe another co-actor and the director. Like, I don't need to name every, like, oh, my publicist so-and-so and this person. It's like,
the people who are watching the broadcast have no idea who any of these people are.
You're name-dropping people I don't care about.
Exactly.
And also, like, if you say, I like to thank everyone that helped me with my career and my movie, that includes everyone.
Everyone.
Like, just stop it.
And the thing is that all these people are going to be going to the after parties all night long, where they're going to see those people and can thank them in person.
It's like, do I really care? I mean, maybe some people really care if they hear their name on there, but half the time they just say their names. Like, I like to thank John, Linda. Like, they're like, who are these people? I don't know who these people are. Like, so stop it.
Yes.
Like, please.
Yeah, pull it together. Even if you don't think you're going to win, have a speech prepared. Just have a speech prepared.
And my only other things, quick, is that they actually have in the last couple of years got the broadcast down a little bit.
Yes.
Because it used to end after midnight at one point.
Yes.
But they also starting it earlier, because they used to start at 8:30.
Yeah.
And now they start at 8. So thank you, Oscars, for doing that.
Yes, exactly. And it still was 3.5 hours, but, they'll never get it right.
No, it's hard to get it lower than that, I think, just based on everything else.
Yeah.
All right. So that's, I think, our Oscar broadcast. We've talked a lot of
that
Oscars.
was pretty in-depth with the whole Oscar thing.
That's a lot of Oscars going on. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll be back next time with a brand new podcast.
Yep.
We're back to our regular format. Hopefully, there's not a secondary Oscars that'll.
And if there is, we'll be there. You know it.
Maybe we'll talk about Razzies next time.
Nice.
We'll see, because they just nominations only.
Yes.
Nominations only. Okay, thanks for listening.
Produced by Matthew C. Loop and Lawrence Simner. A Loop and Larry production.
Bueller.
He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Bueller.
Bad news. Fog is getting thicker.
And Leon's getting larger.
Inconceivable.
Brian's right. It's an Alf.
Wax on.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Wax off.